Hello and welcome to the Cameo Show. I am joined today by my husband, Greg Braun. Hello, Greg.
Hello, hello.
Greg, are you dropping a dad joke on us today?
Oh yeah, you know how we do. You know
All
how we
right,
do.
let's hear it.
What do you call a shoe made out of a banana?
I don't know.
What do you call a shoe made out of a banana? A slipper.
Oh, these are good. You've had some zingers the last couple episodes.
Thank
I
you.
like that one. Very good. Today, talking about zingers, we're going to talk about our experience as parents of teenagers on our recent vacation. So each year we try to take our children on a trip sometime during the summer, as many families do. Sometimes it's been elaborate and other times it's been, just something really quick and small, maybe even just a trip back home to Ohio or the Midwest. This year, we decided to stay kind of local to us. We drove over to the other side of the state and went to Miami and then down into the Keys and did some fun activities like deep sea fishing and jet skiing and, experiencing the Miami scene. What we didn't factor into the equation of this year's vacation is that our kids are older. And they're 13 and 17. And whether we like it or not, they have their own social lives and their own agendas and their own situation going on these days that made it a little bit different this year than in the years past when they were younger. And mom and dad were the center of the universe. And they kind of hung on every word that we said. And the adventure was being with us. It's just a little different this year, and not from a bad space. Not that our vacation was anything less than amazing. It was just that we had to make some adjustments to our expectations during the trip and accept that, we may not be the center of the universe anymore.
What an experience.
So the trip started, and our plan for the first couple of days in Miami was to spend time in South Beach, playing in the water and beaching and just having fun being outside, waking up on the beach, something that we don't often get to do. And it rained, like the whole time, rained, thunder and lightning. And so we didn't really have any other plans other than outdoor activities. Even our dinners were outdoors. And so not only were we faced with adjusting what we were actually going to do and not having a backup plan, but now we've got two teenagers in a hotel room that are like, okay, now we're bored and we aren't super excited to be here anyway because our friends are all yada, yada, yada. And so we started our vacation kind of frustrated. Is that the right word to describe how you were feeling?
Yeah. Frustrated, confused.
All of the emotions. I had moments of oh my God, you're the most ungrateful little brats I've ever been around. And it wasn't really fair of me to judge them in that moment, but I wasn't being fair in that moment because I was disappointed too, right? You get excited and you look forward to, and you plan these things and then they don't go as you anticipate. So we're human and we have human emotions. And I was like, damn, I don't know if I can do this for the next 5 or 6 days. If this is what we're doing, let's just go home. I'd rather not just take my money and save me the stress instead of take my money and I'm just a stressed out mess the whole time. I want to enjoy myself too. Or let's drive your asses home and Greg and I will come back and we'll do our own thing. You know what I mean? But so we started in this situation where we're all kind of in these 4 walls of this hotel instead of being able to go out and play in the beach and explore and go to these fun fire dancing dinners that I was so excited about. We didn't get to do any of that. And I feel at some point, maybe the first night when we had to adjust our dinner plans, you and I both looked at each other and we're like, okay, this is what we're working with here. So we have the opportunity to either be miserable or just make the most of it. And remember what it was like to be a teenager, and accept that this is where we are. What do you think, like, what was going through your head when we had that like brief conversation where you're like, I don't know how to do this? What were you thinking?
Well, honestly, I was very shocked by it all. Honestly, like I'm just like, really?
You still seem a
You know,
little shocked. You
yeah.
still
I
seem a
mean,
little like a deer in the headlights as
I
I'm
still
like,
don't. I still don't really understand. Just because I figured, well, we're here. Let's party.
yeah,
But like you said, it rained, so our beach plans were foiled, and we did not have a backup plan at all. So we were just like, well, now what do we want to do? And then it was just like
yeah.
spiraling from there. So
And I feel like it's fair to say that like Faith was kind of having a moment. She's the 17-year-old being ripped out of her independence world, right now, especially just graduated high school. Everything is like new and a new level of independence for her. And Ben was like into it. Ben was totally into being on vacation and like having time to connect with his family. We're all going in so many different directions. So he was kind of on our page. The rains messed us all up, but like at first I feel like it was Faith. But we had that moment of like, okay, this is just what it is. Like there's not a whole lot we can do about it. And it's going to be an uphill battle if we keep trying to like force fun or force an attitude adjustment. Like, let's just let this be what it is. It turned around when we left Miami, right? Like we got through Miami. Miami, we got through it. We started driving down to the Keys. It was still raining. We were on our way to Key West and we had jet skis. And that was when everybody kind of like shifted and the excitement started. We were going to do something like adventurous and fun and exciting that nobody had ever done before. And so that's when things changed a little bit. And we had a lot of fun when we arrived, and attitudes had evened out, right? Everybody was like on an even playing field and life was good. And then the next day we went deep sea fishing and everything was good, except
you drugged them.
I put our children to sleep. It was an accident. We don't do it very often, but over the years, when we have an opportunity to go to Key West, we go out fishing with Captain Jay Miller of Outer Limits Sport Fishing. He's right there in the marina, like every time. It's just been a phenomenal experience. It started with just Greg and I, and then as the kids got older, we've started taking them down and have done it a few times. And it's always a top-notch experience out there with him. Last time we didn't take any motion sickness medicine. So we went out into the Gulf and everybody was green. Duh. So we had to come in, and the day was still great that year inshore fishing, but it wasn't what we wanted it to be. It wasn't, again, I guess another opportunity to adjust our expectations, and we pivoted. But this year I was damn determined that we weren't going to get sick. So we took motion sickness medicine before we even got on the boat, read the instructions, take it an hour before, we're good to go. And then we're like heading out and I'm like, oh boy, okay, I don't want to risk this. Let's all take another dose. Horrible decision. So we finally get out there and we like get our rods in the water, get our lines in the water. And the kids are like sleeping in the cabin, like, sleep, not just like tired and dozing off, like out cold. Mom failed.
NyQuil stupor, like.
Yeah. And like, we'd get a fish on and be like, hey, there's a fish on. And they'd like zombie out to the chair, reel it in, take a picture, go back in, back out. So next time I'm going to try to get it right with the dosage. And I didn't like overdose. I just gave the maximum dose, which was a horrible. So yet another opportunity to adjust our expectations. And like, we called it a day. We went in, we had our fish, and then we just kind of chilled the rest of the night because everyone was sleepy. Not at anyone's fault, but mine, but it happens. So then we took off and we went up north, kind of halfway point in the Keys, and we were snorkeling. We have not had a great experience doing that in the past. So this time we were really excited about it. I think everyone's attitudes were still really great at this point. We went out and it rained again. Well, let's back up. You want to take this one? You want to tell the story of when we first arrived to the hens and chickens reef and we're all getting ready to get in the water?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm not a strong swimmer. No, every time I've ever been snorkeling, I've always worn a floating device, like one that maybe you blow into, or something that kind of keeps you afloat. Because I like to be relaxed when I'm snorkeling and not floundering about. But anyway, we got to the reef, and she tied off the boat. And she's like, "Okay, jump in. Who's first?" And I'm like, "Where's the life preservers at?" And she's like, you don't use a life preserver to snorkel." I'm like, "Every time I've always worn one." She's like, "Would you like a relaxation noodle?" And I'm like, "Yeah, give me 2 of those." So
Okay,
I've got
wait, I
these.
have to back you up a second. So the lady was amazing. Like, we had an amazing experience with her. Her name was Pascal, and she's from Switzerland. And so when she said, "Would you like a relaxation noodle?" It was like not only just an amazing question, but it was also that she has this accent. And so I need you to like really give it to us, like really put on the performance so that we can all like feel what it felt like in that moment to be asked about the relaxation noodle.
Well, if you look up in the dictionary enthusiasm, this lady that's the definition of enthusiasm. She
Oh
was
my
like
God, yes.
100% fully, engaged in what she's doing. She owns her own business and does a phenomenal job
Mhm.
and knows what she's doing. And she ran a tight boat, literally ran a tight ship, and was like, "You sit here, this, that, like, we have, what music do you want? Okay." I mean, it was all very just amazing. So we
Very
get out there, and
professional. Yeah, it was
just
awesome.
total pro. We were just like, yes. And so when we got to the spot, she tied off the boat and was like, "Who's gonna go first?" And I don't remember
It
if
was
you went.
me. It's
Yeah, you
always
went
mom.
first.
Mom always has
Yeah.
to go first when we're doing something adventurous to make sure
And
that
then,
it's safe for everyone else.
yeah, get in there. Let's make sure there's no sharks.
Yeah.
And then Ben, and then me, and then Faithy waited back, but she did get in.
Yeah.
But she was like, "Would you like a relaxation noodle?" And it was just like, yes, I'll have one of those. And just the way she said it with such enthusiasm, I'm like, who can say no to this? Yes. So I had 2 relaxation noodles, just flopping around in the water. I was just enjoying my snorkeling experience. But
Meanwhile, Ben and I are like 15 feet underwater, like cannot get down there fast enough. Can't get enough air to go back down. Faith's on the
yeah,
back of the boat in tears. Bless her little heart. She is so adventurous. She's so brave, but there's just something about being out in completely open water, not being able to touch the ground and not being able to see, really see the bottom. That just is not her thing. So she's like not into it. She did get in. And this is again,
yeah,
another tribute to the enthusiasm of our
yeah,
captain. If he was coaching Faith on jumping in the water and telling her it's safe and there's no sharks and all these different things. And
yeah,
then she gave her a countdown.
yeah, yeah. I was
From
like,
5.
yeah,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Faith didn't jump in like at 1. She was like, not really. I don't think she was really going to do it. But then she did a few seconds after 1. She finally made it into the water.
yeah. Because she said, I asked her, I'm like, "What made you finally get in the water?" And she goes, "Well, she counted down and she did it so excitedly that I didn't have a choice." She said 3, 2, 1, and then, yeah, and Faith's still on the boat. She's like, "Okay, I gotta jump in now."
I have to jump in. This lady's enthusiasm is just like through the roof, level 10. I can't let her down. So she did it. She did it.
Yeah.
It
And
was
honestly,
amazing.
I got to take that one. I booked that one. I found her on Google, and it was like all her reviews were just like phenomenal. And they were just that, you know. So thank goodness for people leaving reviews, so you know you're getting what experience you're going to get. You know, it's something like that. But unbelievable energy, you know,
Yeah.
just remarkable.
It was a winner. It was amazing. And, you know, for the snorkelers, Ben and I, it was beautiful under there. You know, we were
Yeah.
diving down there and seeing, you know, you can't see it from 15 feet up, the vibrant colors when you're floating on a relaxation noodle, but when you dive down deep, you can, and it was beautiful. So a great experience there. But then yes, the storm rolled in and we got rained out again. And so then we're like at the sandbar in the middle of a damn lightning storm, looking at each other getting pelted with rain. It's cold as hell. And we're just like, okay, shit, okay. You know, every lightning strike, we're like, okay, looking at each other like, Jesus, get us out of here.
It was like literally all hell broke loose, and we're out there like, what is happening?
But
And
like a
she's
true
like,
professional, she knew exactly what to do. She knew it was
yeah,
better to wait it out than to go into the storm, and we couldn't outrun it. Like she just knew exactly what to do. So I felt safe, even if we maybe weren't awesomely safe, but it worked, you know. And then we went in and we ended up back at our hotel where there were like paddle boards and different things to do, which was really fun. But about this time, so we're like day 5 into the trip, Faith has joined us now. She's like enthusiastically ready to party and participate. And now Ben's like, I'm over this. And he is 13. So a 13-year-old's way of being over something is kind of like acting out and being a wild and rowdy little man. So we're at these dinners that we're like excited to go to on, you know, beachfront. It's this cool experience. And Ben's like being a 13-year-old little boy, loud and rowdy. And we're like, okay, geez, we just could not get it right. Can we all get on the same page at some point during this vacation? And we had a little bit in the meat, but here's in sharing all of that, here's what I think is most important. Even the roughest of the rough moments, I'm going to remember all of them. Like those are just memories that we got to collect on that trip that may have looked a little bit different than they did when the kids were little and a little bit more like ducklings following mom and dad's lead. It's just now a completely different ball game where they're expressing themselves in different ways. They have different priorities. They have different things that they're into that maybe are not as sad as it sounds. Like it's not necessarily a priority right now for them to spend an entire week out of their normal life where they're building and they have relationships and friendships and things going on. And like, we just had to have a moment during that vacation to change our perspective and accept that. And that's been like an ongoing theme, I think, for me personally, is that like, I am needed so much less now as a mom. These kids are doing their own thing. They need me to make them food. They need me to, you know, give them hugs and high fives and encouragement and for some conversations here and there. But for the most part, like, they're doing their thing. They're doing what they're going to do. They are self-sufficient in many ways. And that can be a hard pill to swallow. I'm experiencing that and kind of looking around like every once in a while, that little voice creeps in of like, questioning what's my worth now as a woman. For 18 years, I've been mom. And now that there's more space in between all of those moms, I'm like, it's kind of quiet around here. And adjusting the expectation of like what life looks like now with teenagers, what vacations look like now with teenagers is a major thing. It's a new phase of life. And I'm sure you feel it too. So I say mom, but same for you.
Yeah.
Daddy watch, daddy this, daddy that.
Yeah.
And it's just different.
Yeah. I notice for me, my buddies used to always laugh like when they would come over to my house as a kid, because my dad would always be like, hey, have you guys eat? Have you eaten? Do you need to eat? He's always like pushing food. And when you're like younger, you're just too busy to even stop and eat. You know what I mean? You're just doing. So you're just like, I'll eat later, you know, you barely, and you can see that in the kids, but like, I notice now myself, I'm becoming that way. Like, since they don't need me for, all these other things, and I've got more space now, I'm always like pushing food. Like, do you want to eat? Are you hungry?
Yeah.
Do you need to eat? And it's
Finding
like,
new ways to
you're like,
connect and contribute to their
yeah,
lives without being disruptive or like being
yeah,
overly involved.
it's like a way to show love, that's not like, it's like an indirect way to show love, like feeding them,
Yeah.
so,
It used to be come out and play in the pool with me for hours and throw me around. And
yeah,
now they're like bigger than me and nobody's throwing anybody. And now it's
yeah,
more like come out, peek around the corner, see if anybody's in the kitchen, make some food
yeah,
and scurry back off to their rooms half the time.
yeah,
So it's just a completely different ball game. But
yeah,
during those moments, like, especially I have some sad moments, I just have to remind myself that like, this is a natural progression, that
yeah,
there were days when they were little where it just felt like the day was never going to end. And I'm grateful for all of those moments too, where I was tired and I was stressed and I felt like, oh my God, I'm never going to have space to go to the bathroom alone ever again. This is insanity because being parents it's hard. And then you go through a phase where they're a little more capable than, and they're like your little buddies and they're your little ducklings. And it's a cool phase. And now we're in this phase where I go to the bathroom by myself. Nobody needs me anymore. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of sad. And it's just part of how this works, and like accepting that has been really, really big for me, instead of trying to change it or force anything or like try to force myself out of feeling that way. Like, oh God, pity party yourself later. It's more of like I am sad. Our kids are growing up and they put value in other things now more than they do mom and dad. And like, that's sad. I'm the mom, but it's also okay to feel that way. And it's okay to rationalize it and understand it from their perspective, but also give myself some grace and allow myself to grieve a little bit of the fact that like my phase in life at 40 as a midlife woman is no longer to raise children. Like I mean, it is, of course, Ben's only 13. It's not like they're out of the nest, but it's a different way, completely different level. And that I have to allow myself to feel that and understand it and like not hurry myself through that emotion, because it's such
yeah,
a huge part of our life and it's been such a huge part of who we are and how we identify
yeah.
ourselves as people.
That's
It's
it.
it's weird. It's new.
That's it. What you said there, it's identity. Like I identify as I'm a dad or musician or whatever. Like you identify with. It's hard to see that slip away. And like as a parent, you're like, I'm not as needed, and you can just kind of feel the space there. And instead of like judging it or labeling it or whatever, like just being aware of it, that it's happening in real time, is that's heavy right there. Like you don't have to do anything more with it. Just the awareness of that it is happening, and it's not like you're not crazy for feeling less wanted
Mhm.
for these minuscule things that now they can take care of themselves. It's just you're not crazy. It's just the reality of the situation, and like what are you going to do with that now,
Yeah.
and not put a negative spin on it, or
Well, for
just
so
keeping
long,
keeping
we've
it
been the
open.
ones, yeah, for so long, we've been the ones that are like calling the shots and giving all the directions. And now it's like, I don't have anybody to direct. They're
Yeah,
just,
yeah. Well, yeah,
like my
exactly.
job has that portion of my job is complete. And
Yeah.
now the reality is that they are taking what they've learned from that phase. And now this new phase of like almost modeling what our behavior is, our interactions, how we engage with strangers, how we interact with wait staff. Like these are the things that now I'm thinking that are like less me talking and telling. And now I've been showing all along, but in a way that I wasn't sure they picked up on. But now it's like they're definitely picking up on those things at this age and development for them. And I like to talk. So it's hard for me to like zip it and just be
Yeah.
without, trying to be the mom and get my megaphone out, my mom mouth.
Well, we learn from each other. So before I even thought about having kids, I witnessed Joe Mon and his son, and they got along great and had, and his son was probably like senior in high school. It was a good vibe, good energy, and they're still best friends. And I remember asking him, what's the secret, all that. And he was like, you have until they're about 12. And then they're going to do what they're going to do. And like, till 12 is when you can really like parent, it just was like a light bulb moment. Cause it's like, you can't go to a 16-year-old and try to teach them shit you should have taught them at like 8, or
Yeah, and
like,
we're
you know what I mean?
experiencing that right now. And I think more now because Ben's 13 than when Faith was 13. When Faith was 13, Ben was only 8. We were more needed because we had the young anchor, right? Well, now our young anchor, our baby, is now 13.
Yeah.
It's not game over, but it's just like, we're definitely in a different level now, like next level of the game. Here's new challenges. Try to avoid all the fireballs and all the things that are being thrown at you, because it can get a little bit treacherous. But there's also so much awesomeness and beauty in seeing them like grow into who they are and be who they are, and implement the things that you were hoping they were picking up on when I was running my mouth, right? But it is like definitely a delicate dance of controlling and letting go, being there and being hands off. It's such a balancing act that vacation, you look back now and it all makes sense. That the vacation and this stage of our kids' life was that like we hadn't adjusted our expectations yet of what family vacation was going to look like and feel like, and the energy, what the energy was going to be like. We were still like, okay, we're going to high five. It's going to be great. They're going to do what we want. They're not going to have any pushback. They're going to be excited to be here and grateful and look around and be like, you guys are the most awesome parents in the whole world. Thank you so much for doing this. And they're grateful, but they weren't like expressing it in the way that we maybe wanted them to, or how they have in the past when they were little, with excitement and enthusiasm in their eyes. And we were like, well, what the hell?
Yeah, that reminds me of two things. It's like up till they're about 12 or 13, you're running behind them holding the bike so it doesn't fall over, and they're pedaling, but you still have a good firm grip on that seat, and then it seems like from 12 to 13 on, we're just running beside them. They're on the bike, and it's more of like a parallel, hey, we're doing this together. That in my mind is kind of how it feels,
Yeah,
like,
that's a really great visual.
because we're not on some mountaintop barking at them like, hey, do this, being ridiculous about stuff. Like, we're very realistic. We don't feel like we're too far away from being kids ourselves. So, it's
that
easy
definitely
to just,
plays into it, I think.
just every day be like, I get it.
So the other part of that is what you just said. We're running beside them now. And that commands of us like a level of mutual respect as parents that maybe felt different than when they were little, right? When they're little, you are holding the bike seat, you are the authority figure. And I'm not saying that we're not still parents, like they still need us as their parents and as their sounding board. But at least what's working for us is that we're doing it in a way that makes them feel heard and respected and like they're understood. So we have to have some difficult conversations around some uncomfortable subjects. We're dealing with teenagers, but making sure that they understand, like, it may feel like we're dinosaurs, but it wasn't that long ago when we were dealing with these things too. And here's what happened when I was in that situation. And like being vulnerable with them has really served us well, I feel, because then they understand that we understand, and then they feel more apt to be open with us. Now, I don't know that they always are, or that they're as open as I think they are, and that's fine, because that's just how the parenting game goes. But at least I know that we're like making an effort there to be aware of that. And I feel like they feel that too. It's in those moments where it feels like you're doing your job of being in control and letting go at the same time. Because in those moments, it feels wholesome, like it feels right to me anyway. And I think that you've done a great job as my partner, because there will be times when I'm like moody and you'll be like, what's
Allegedly.
wrong? Yeah,
Allegedly.
that comes with air quotes, moody. And you'll be like, what's wrong? And I don't really know how to express what's wrong. I just know that I'm sad, thinking about the vacation or what could have been, or how I could have responded differently to the behavior that they were displaying, and that maybe I waited too long to adjust my expectations of what was realistic for this vacation, or that maybe I got too overzealous about certain behavior and it wasn't really that big of a deal, but it was just because I felt out of control. Like all of those moments when I'm feeling that and I don't know how to articulate it, and you like say, you will literally just know it. And as my partner, be like, hey, it's okay to feel sad. Like it's okay to feel like not mom guilt. It's actually kind of like the opposite of mom guilt. It's like mom grief. It's okay to feel that. I don't know if that's like a real thing or not, but it's okay to feel that as your kids are growing up and as you're entering a different phase of parenthood. And I appreciate that very much, because there are some times when I just don't know what to do with those emotions and trap myself into feeling like I did something wrong, but also allowing myself to feel. So it's again, back to that balance of like these polarizing feelings that I don't know what to do with. The vacation story is just such a great way to like take 1 week, like a little excerpt. And it was a lot of fun, and like come away with all of the beautiful, messy moments too, but also use it as a way to explain what it feels like to be in a different phase of parenting than we once were.
Always an adventure, but every day is a new opportunity to show up and have a clean slate and try again, and I'm not held hostage to yesterday. Wake up today, learn from yesterday, and give it your best shot, and just expect that you're probably not going to land. All your message is not going to land, and there's going to be messes, and there's going to be problems.
Hormonal attitudes and drama.
Okay.
And
So we got back from our trip, that experience, right? The whole experience. And when did the flat tire happen? What was it?
oh God, literally in hours.
So we went to go
got
get our
home.
dog.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
We're already like exhausted, just from the whole thing. We went to go pick up our dog from Joe, and Faith texted and was like, I got a nail in my tire or a screw in my tire. And we're like, oh my God.
So like she couldn't wait to get home and see her friends. So she like I said, in the beginning of the trip was like, I don't want to be here. Blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of the trip was like really, enjoying the time, but was so excited to get home and be with her friends and her boyfriend, and couldn't wait to get out the door. Like literally showered and got in her car and took off, as a 17-year-old should. And then, we're on our way to get our dog. Like this is literally within hours. And she's like, I have a screw in my tire. It's flat. And we're like, well, you need to bring your car home, because we don't, we don't know the extent of this, and we don't want you to wake up with a flat tire somewhere else tomorrow. And we got to deal with that. And she was like, why do I have to come home? Like not because she was being defiant, but because she was like wanting to understand why do I need to come home? And we were like exhausted, and we're like taking it as defiance. So just this like disconnect in communication when this is happening, because things change from moment to moment when you're dealing with teenagers
and when you're dealing with adults.
You're right.
Just when you're
I thought you were going to say,
no.
And when you're dealing with dogs, because we're talking about going and picking up our dog, but you're right. And when you're dealing with adults, just people in general, because we're emotional and don't always know how to articulate what we're feeling, and then just behave. What are you laughing? No, I didn't mean behave like behave. We just behave according to our feelings. And sometimes that doesn't come across as an accurate depiction of what we're actually feeling. It comes across as acting out. In my case, a lot. So kind of like a teenager.
Well, there's no manual for this. So we're just kind of winging it and doing the best we can. And I get there's probably are manuals for this, but
there are lots of great books with great information and resources that you could probably consider manuals. But here's the thing about manuals. They all go out the window as soon as you're like in it. You're not like, hold on a second, let me get out the manual. And until you've like been through it, you don't really know what the hell is going on. So you're just doing the best that you can.
You don't really go for the manual until you've broke it, until you're stuck. And then you're like, where's the instructions? I just picture your dad in the garage when we got the Beast basketball rim There's a video of him. He goes, instructions, who needs them? And he throws them across the garage. And then 3 hours later, we're like, oh, we've got this I-beam that we can't get together, but
Yeah.
that's just a good metaphor for
Same deal.
what
Same deal in the hotel room when it's raining and we don't have any other plans. Then you kind of all of a sudden go, where's the manual? What are we supposed to? I start looking on Pinterest, like, what the hell am I supposed to do on a rainy day at the beach with 2 teenagers? There were no great suggestions, but we made it. We made it. And we did our best to adjust our sails and navigate any of the storms that we were experiencing, both figuratively and literally, whether they were rainstorms or teenage storms, and came away with some really great memories, even the messy parts. That's what makes the experience. We're gonna wake up to see another day, if all goes well, and keep navigating this teenage ride and into adulthood. It just it happens really fast. So I don't know if there's any way you can be prepared for it. It's just a constant adjustment and reset, hitting the reset button on how you parent. So whether you are a parent of toddlers, adolescents, late teens, just give yourself a break and know that nobody knows exactly what to do or how to do it right. And that if you can stay present in the moment and enjoy the messy parts and the hard parts as much as you can enjoy the great parts that go according to schedule, you're winning, because these are moments that you don't get back. You're not going to get the time back. And even though these moments may not be playing out exactly like you want them to, or maybe you expected to, you get to control that. So adjust your expectations and relish in these moments with your kids, experiencing who they are in their own unique individual ways. And I promise, as a mom of 2 teenagers experiencing kind of the later phase of parenting, that you won't ever regret a moment, even the ones that feel rough.
hang on tight.
Strap on your seat belt or get your relaxation noodle for support.